I learned a lot through a couple years of living. The up and downs and the choices that we given, and the decisions that we make
Voices.
as the price of it. It's time to
My job right now is to give you an introduction to Kevin Hines. Now, Kevin and his lovely wife, Margaret, have been friends of ours for about 5 years, and they have changed our lives. Kevin, in his life's work, has not only added to my sense of urgency about what I do, but he has shown me the power of one voice to change the world. And I can tell you, his voice is in high demand, whether it's the Pentagon, whether it's a classroom. I've been with him speaking with a group of 10. I've been with him when he spoke to a group of 14,000. And his voice is changing the world. I'm so very thankful that he has decided to bring his voice here and share it with us. So please join me in welcoming Kevin Hines.
My name is Kevin Hines, and this is my story. The morning was September 25th of the year 2000. I was 19, and I believed beyond a shadow of a doubt that I had not one other course to take but to die using these two hands. I believed I was a burden to all who loved me. I believed I had no value. I found myself on a bus in San Francisco in the very back seat in the middle row, crying like a child, hoping that one person would look to me and say, "Hey kid, are you okay? Brother, is something wrong?" Or, "Pal, can I help you?" And I would have told that person everything and begged them for help. I yelled aloud on that bus at the voices I was hearing in my head, auditory hallucinations. And the only person to react aloud was a man to my left who said to a fellow next to him while pointing at me with his thumb while smiling, "What the hell's wrong with that kid?" The bus got to the Golden Gate Bridge parking lot. 100 people deboarded right there with their fanny packs from 1982 in the year 2000. And their foreign accents from all over the world, and their cameras that your kids wouldn't understand because they weren't phones. And they got off that bus, and I was the last person sitting there crying, mucus dripping from my nose, hoping that the driver would see my pain. And he walked up to me and he said, "Come on, kid, get off the bus, I gotta go." I walked off that bus, heart heavy, heart palpitating, eyes red with tears. I walked across the 2-mile stretch of walkway that was the Golden Gate Bridge for 40 minutes crying like a child. Bikers, joggers, tourists, runners, police officers searching for suicidal people, they all went by me twice. I stood at a particular light rail, ready to delete myself from this world, and that's when it happened. A woman from my left approached me. She had blonde curly hair and those sunglasses you ladies love to wear that do not fit your face. Something to think about. And she approached with a smile, and I thought, this woman is going to ask me if I'm okay. I don't have to die today. And then she pulled out a digital camera and said, "Will you take my picture?" And she posed 5 times. Now, I believe that woman was in her own way trying to reach me, but I didn't see it. She walked away. I said in my head, absolutely nobody cares, but I was wrong. Everybody cared. Every member of my family, every one of my friends, my acquaintances would have been there to rip me from that rail to safety because they cared. Yes. My brain wasn't allowing me to care for me. My brain was trying to kill me as I desperately tried to cling to life. She walked away. The voices in my head said aloud, "Jump now," and I did. 220 feet, 25 stories at 75 miles an hour in 4 seconds. When you hit that water from that height at that speed, it is like hitting a solid. But that's not the important part of the story. The important part of the story is that at the millisecond that my hands left that rail and my legs cleared it, an instant regret from my actions. And the absolute recognition that I had just made the greatest mistake of my life, and it was too late. Over 2,000 people have died at the Golden Gate Bridge in 80 years. For those people, it's been too late. 99% of the people that have gone to attempt there are gone forever. 36 have lived. 5 of us got the privilege to regain full physical mobility. 1 of 5. I fell in those waters. I went down 70 feet, but I shattered 3 vertebrae in my back. My legs were immobile. I swam to the surface 70 feet, only using my arms in excruciating pain. I broke the surface and I tried to scream for help, but all that came out, help me. My lungs had been impacted. A woman driving by in a red car saw me go over that rail, and she called her friend in the United States Coast Guard, who happened to be manning the waters of that bridge at that moment. The reason the Coast Guard got to my position in the water before I would set into hypothermia and drown was because of that woman. I know that story because my high school band teacher, Mr. Blount, came to the hospital to tell it to my family, a volunteer officer in that very Coast Guard unit. In the waters, I flailed to stay afloat, but was doing a terrible job. I kept going down, and that's when it happened. Something began to circle beneath me. Something large and slimy and alive. And I thought to myself, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't die off the Golden Gate Bridge, and a shark is going to eat me. I tried to punch it with my right wrenched arm, but it wouldn't go away, circling faster and faster. But it didn't bite. No longer was I wading in the water to stay afloat. I'm lying atop it, being kept buoyant by this creature, thinking to myself, well, this is a very nice shark. I mean, what would you do in that situation? I know what I did. I named him Herbert, because what else was there to do? Herbert the lifesaver. And this creature took off like a bat out of hell when the Coast Guard boat arrived. And I would learn, after being on a show on ABC Primetime Live, promoting a suicide prevention campaign in San Francisco a year later, I would learn from a man named Morgan who wrote into the show and said, Kevin, I'm so very glad you're alive. I was standing less than 2 feet from you when you jumped. No one to this day would tell me whether you lived or died until I watched this show. It's haunted me until now. And by the way, Kevin, there was no shark. Like you mentioned, you thought there was in the show, but there was a sea lion. And the people above looking down believed it to be keeping your body buoyant until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind you. Now, you can call that what you want, my new friends, but I call that a miracle. The Coast Guard saved my life. They got me to an ambulance. Ambulance got me to the hospital. A back surgeon, one of the foremost on the West Coast, wasn't supposed to be there that day. He opted to stay to do my surgery in a medical journal, the first of its particular kind. And he and his team are the reason I get the distinct honor of standing before you today. In the hospital, it wasn't easy. I went from a wheelchair to a walker and a back brace to a back brace and a cane, and then right into my first psych ward, because you can't just go home after that, all right? 7 psych ward stays in the next 11 years, all for suicidal crisis. But here's the kicker. After that 3rd psych ward stay, I got hip to the wise. I became self-aware. Those last 4 psych ward stays of 7, I walked to a family member, I walked to a friend, I walked to a loved one, and I said, I need to be in there, or I won't be here. Ladies and gentlemen, I live with chronic suicidal thoughts, but I maintain they will never take me. I will never again attempt to take my life so long as I shall live, because I've been given the gift of a second chance, and they don't come often. And so, today I travel the world telling my story to any and every audience willing to listen, because I believe that hope really does help heal. And if you can find it in a sea of darkness, you can have purpose. And if you can have purpose, you can stay here. And in my 7 psych ward stays, I had doctors and nurses and staff who gave me hope and a future every single time. Remember this, yesterday is history. Tomorrow, it's a mystery, but today is our gift. That, my friends, is the only reason we call it the present. And And if you don't believe me, Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda 3 said that. And trust me, he knows what he's talking about. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is our gift. So I ask you, let us always and forever cherish this day and every waking moment of this gorgeous gift we all get to call life. Thank you.
Yo, check it out. Yeah, some people know the truth and all the shit that I've been through. Diamond in the rough, it's time to convince you I'm about to change the world, that's all that I'm into. Even though a couple true friends is essential. Before you think big, boy, you gotta think simple. Build your foundation and focus your mental.